Make him pay. Victoria's police chief considering billing the host of that wild party. First pictures of conjoined twins here for life-saving surgery. And the founder of HIH leaves jail for a life of luxury.
This is National 9 News with Peter Hitchener.
Good evening. Also tonight, Just Ace, a glorious splash of colour as Melbourne reclaims the world stage. A Narre South teenager whose party got out of control after being advertised on the MySpace website could cop a $20,000 bill. The 16-year-old has incurred the wrath of Chief Commissioner Nixon, and she wants to teach him a lesson. Martine Alpens has the latest developments.
Corey just doesn't get it.
You, mate, are you sorry about what's happened? You, mate, are you sorry about what's happened at all? No.
He's still holding the fort at his home. His parents are on their way home from a Queensland holiday. Any phone contact cut short by Corey.
What have they said?
Not a lot, because I don't really talk to them, I keep hanging up on them, so...
But he won't be able to hang up on Nixon. Controlling Saturday night's wild party of 500 teenagers required the police helicopter, the dog squad and extra reinforcements after police were attacked with bottles and neighbours were under threat. The exercise cost taxpayers $20,000 or more, and the Chief Commissioner wants Corey to foot the bill.
I think he needs to learn a lesson, and I think that one way or another we'll do that.
Yeah, it shouldn't be Corey's fault. Can't find just one kid that was inside the whole time.
Police are also considering laying charges over yesterday's post-party. Stern warned to anyone who's thinking of holding a similar party in the future, pets who are planning to live home alone.
I have a word for young people who are out of part. Don't do it. It's not a good thing to do at all, and it may cost your family a substantial amount of money.
The price is what Corey's after. His 15 minutes are almost up. Martine Alpens, National 9 News.
Surgeons at the Royal Children's Hospital have started a series of life-saving operations to separate conjoined twin girls from Bangladesh. 12-month-old Trishna and Krishna are joined at the skull, and while the procedure is extremely risky, without it, doctors say the little girls will surely die. Caroline Rondo with the story.
They're two bright, bubbly, one-year-old girls with an extraordinary battle ahead.
One's the bigger one who has lots of energy, and so she ends up pulling the other child's tubes out and pulling her hair, and the other one's a very placid, gentle-natured child. We're really girly.
Moira Kelly rescued Trishna and Krishna from a Bangladesh orphanage and brought them to Melbourne last November.
The two children are joined at the head. The brains themselves are separate, but where they are in fact joined is the venous circulation, in other words, the outflow from the brain.
Virginia Meixner is leading a team of medical experts through the series of delicate operations to separate the twins.
You do a staged process where you slowly remove a certain number of veins and then let the brain settle down.
But it's extremely risky, with a 1 in 4 chance the girls will die. Doctors say it's a miracle the girls have made it to their first birthday, as most conjoined twins die in the womb or soon after birth. And it's that fighting spirit they're hoping will pull them through months. The foundation has raised $1,000 to cover. A further $150 is still needed for the girls' ongoing care.
My dream is they're going to be like any other little girl running around in the next 18 months or years, and then leave it in God's hands.
Caroline Rondo, National 9 News.
Disgraced HIH founder Ray Williams is a free man tonight after serving almost 3 years behind bars for his role in the company's collapse. The 71-year-old apologised to shareholders who suffered as he left prison, en route to his family's multi-million-dollar mansion. Simon Boda reports.
Ray Williams walked out of Silverwater Jail smiling, having spent 2 years and 9 months behind bars. After being met by a relative, he left by car, stopping briefly to apologise.
The last thing in the world I would ever have wanted was for HIH to fail, for people to be hurt and for people to suffer financial loss. And I really am very sorry that that occurred.
The 71-year-old was the founder and director of HIH Insurance, which went broke 7 years ago, owing more than $5.3 billion. Williams was jailed for misleading shareholders. While he may be a free man, according to the victims of the HIH collapse, Ray Williams will never be free of the guilt. While Williams is officially bankrupt, his wife is reportedly a multi-millionaire after he transferred part of his wealth to her before the collapse.
My parents lost money and he's got money squirreled away everywhere and it makes me sick.
Williams is on parole until next year and will have to report weekly to police. He can't leave the state without permission and is banned from managing a corporation for 10 years. Simon Boda, National 9 News.
Sex crimes detectives are hunting a man believed to have sexually assaulted another male at Phillip Island in the lead-up to the New Year's Eve. As Paul Kennedy reports, they've released video footage of the person they think is responsible.
This is the suspect, pictured at the entrance of the Isle of Wight Hotel in Cowes just before midnight on December 30. Detectives want to identify and speak to him and the other people captured on security footage who could help piece together the events of the night before New Year's Eve.
In relation to the investigation, there's it's a jigsaw puzzle and we've only filled in small bits.
The sex crime squad received a complaint from the 21-year-old victim.
They were not known to each other at all, and the victim claims to have met the offender inside the hotel on the night of the incident in question.
The victim was drunk and thought the other man was going to drive him to where he was staying. But once inside the car, he was overpowered and then sexually assaulted. Police say he was treated for physical injuries and is being counselled for his emotional trauma. Police say it was unusual to have a male victim in such an attack.
Our concern is we don't know whether this person in fact is a local or just a visitor to Cowes. The population has grown so much and we're hoping that somebody will have seen something and be able to help us with our inquiries.
Tens of thousands of people attended Phillip Island over the New Year break. In a separate investigation, a 21-year-old man has been arrested at Southern Cross Railway Station after a police internet sting involving an undercover policewoman. He's been charged with child pornography and child sex offences. Paul Kennedy, National 9 News.
Tens of thousands of school leavers will find out later tonight whether they've been offered a first-round place at university or TAFE. The results will be in early edition newspapers. Rachel Rollo joins us from Federation Square, where anticipation is building right there.
Pete, the mood's one of excitement and I guess a nervous anticipation. It's really D-Day for the students here, the culmination of 13 years of schooling. Now, the newspapers have printed an early edition and that's just come off the presses. The Age will deliver theirs to the State Library's forecourt and the Herald Sun here to Federation Square. Now, really, tonight is a night of fun and excitement for most people, but there are about a third of the applicants who will in fact miss out on a university or TAFE place. This is what the Acting Minister had to say about that this afternoon.
The large number of eligible Victorians that have missed out is not in fact surprising. It's not surprising given the events of recent years going back to 1996 with the election of the Howard government.
Now, despite what will be disappointment for about 19,000 students, the mood here has still been upbeat.
Well, a little bit nervous. I don't know how I'm going to go or not.
Hoping to get into childcare at Box Hill, so fingers crossed into that. Can't wait to know.
You think about your future and this is quite important, so just the anticipation is probably what kills you most.
Well, not long now though, by 7:30 they'll all know their fate. Back to you.
Right, thanks Rachel. Record crowds have flocked through the gates at Melbourne Park on the first day of the Australian Open. Police kept a close eye on Croatian and Serbian fans, and despite a flare being set off inside the venue, no one was thrown out. Christina Hearn has the details.
After last year's violence, police were taking no chances. Out in force on foot, bikes and even horses, ready to respond first sign of unrest. While some fans thought police overreacted last year.
I thought it was crap because most of us didn't do anything. It was just a few of them. Like, I got kicked out and I didn't do anything.
When the large contingent of Croatian fans arrived, there were no confrontations. While sometimes vocal, they weren't violent. No one was denied entry, but a flare was set off within the precinct.
You were caught in it last year? Yeah, we were. But not getting involved this year, just standing back.
And it didn't deter families.
There was a bit of trouble here last year. You're not worried about that at all?
No, we'll just stay away from it. Yeah, so no problems.
The threat of a repeat of last year's troubles hasn't impacted on the crowd. Ticket sales are up and organisers are predicting a record crowd for the tournament.
Our fans have again said to us, we love coming here, this is the place to be, best ticket in town.
These Australian fans certainly thought so. Hoping against the odds, Leighton Hewitt can deliver. while there were fans of every flavour.
I'm half French, he's quarter and he's quarter.
The defending champion was once again a favourite.
Any of you Swiss at all?
No.
I'm Australian.
Not that it seemed to matter. Christine Ahern, National 9 News.
And all the on-court action ahead in sport, but coming up, cash help to heal Victoria's health system. And our shining light at a dim Golden Globes. Police Chief Christine Nixon has flagged new research into why Victoria's road safety campaigns aren't working, following a double fatality in the CBD. The victims were on a motorbike which struck a pole in Queen Street and then crashed into a roundabout. The 35-year-old male rider died at the scene. The pillion passenger, a woman in her 20s, passed away later in hospital. The state's road toll is now 12, double that at the same time last year. Victoria's to receive more than $34 million of extra federal funding to help reduce elective surgery waiting lists. Health ministers and treasurers met in Brisbane today to carve up an additional $150 million in funds provided by Canberra. Here's Daniel Street.
Back on deck and waving in a new year, Prime Minister Rudd touched down in Canberra this morning after his fortnight off. As he went to work tackling a full in-tray,
Well, he said he would fix things. That's right.
back in his home city of Brisbane, Treasurer Wayne Swan joined Health Minister Nicola Roxon and her state counterparts on a tour of a Brisbane hospital, spruiking the federal government's plan to cut elective surgery waiting lists by 25,000 this year. To help the states achieve that, the government today put $150 million up for grabs. 2 hours later, Wayne Swan emerged, trumpeting a new era of cooperation.
And this is how we're going to do business from now on. In effect, we put an end to the blame game.
New South Wales gets the largest slice, almost a third of the funding, with $43 million, followed by Victoria receiving $34 million and Queensland $27 million.
There needs to be a lot more than just $150 million to solve our public hospital problems.
Today's funding is part of a $2.5 billion incentive to the states to improve hospitals by mid-2009. And a no failure could see the Rudd government move to take over all public hospitals. Daniel Street, National 9 News.
Australians using broadband can expect faster connections and cheaper prices, with telecommunications company Pipeworks unveiling plans for a $200 million undersea cable to be laid between Sydney and the Pacific island of Guam. Stretching almost 7,000 kilometres, it'll link Australia to the United States and Asia and be independent of Telstra and Optus.
What this will mean is there's going to be increased competition. This is going to mean cheaper prices and faster speeds ultimately.
Finance and the share market began the week in the red amid concerns over the United States economy and inflation fears. The big miners and major banks bore the brunt, with Westpac hit hard. However, gold stocks were stronger and retailers picked up support. The All Ordinaries Index slipped 13 points. Our dollar's buying almost 89.5 US cents and is mixed elsewhere. The family of Indonesia's ailing former dictator Suharto is making preparations for his funeral as his health continues to deteriorate. Doctors say he's now in a very critical condition and have given the 86-year-old only a 50-50 chance of surviving. In the United Arab Emirates, US President George Bush has stepped up his case for military action against nearby Iran, suggesting the rogue state is the world's leading sponsor of terrorism.
It sends hundreds of millions of dollars to extremists around the world, while its own people face repression and economic hardship at home.
Relations between the countries have been further strained after Iranian boats threatened US sailors in international waters. Hundreds of angry travellers at Argentina's main airport have rioted through the terminal after a second day of flight delays and cancellations involving one of the country's main airlines. Union chiefs have accused the carrier of overbooking flights. And Dame Edna Everage can blame her creator for having to cancel an upcoming US tour. Barry Humphries has been ordered to rest for 6 months after suffering complications for appendix surgery. Cate Blanchett has won a Golden Globe Award for Best Supporting Actress for her role as Bob Dylan in the film I'm Not There, but she's been unable to accept her honour in person. She joined other stars who boycotted the ceremony in support of the industry's striking scriptwriters. More from Robert Penfold.
The stage was ready, but not a star in sight to brighten it up. Instead, a couple of people with a list to read. I'm told there was no pun intended in the first announcement of the night for Best Supporting Actress.
Kate Blanchett, I'm not there.
She certainly wasn't. She was in Australia, which is a pity, seeing she won for her role as a young Bob Dylan. At the front row table where George Clooney or Angelina Jolie would usually be, the seats taken instead by disappointed members of the organising committee, including 91-year-old Hollywood reporter Anita Webber. Disappointed? You bet.
Well, I think it stinks.
So instead of the red carpet, the glamour and the parties, thanks to the strikers, it's come to this. Boring. And a massive black eye for Hollywood. Best Comedy or Musical was won by Sweeney Todd. Next, Best Movie Drama for 2007.
Atonement. Thank you all for coming.
The best that could be said for this dull night is, it's going to be a lot better next year. In Hollywood, Robert Penfold, National 9 News.
Now with sport, here's Tony Jones.
Yes, thanks Pete, good to see you again. Coming up after the break, all the tennis action, all eyes are on that place today, that's for sure. Also tell you why a tennis mum spat the dummy, while in the cricket, Hogg sweats it out ahead of his hearing.
Suzuki Grand Vitara V6 Best Compact SUV 2008 is just $29,990 drive away. But be quick, at this price, V6 Grand Vitara stock will go fast.
While Australians Chris Guccione and Leighton Hewitt won't begin their Australian Open campaigns until tomorrow, Alicia Molik will be taking centre stage tonight. Let's take a look at the results so far from day one. And just the one real upset, a short time ago, young Scot Andy Murray was beaten in 4 sets. Better news for Andy Roddick and Serena Williams. They're both through to the second round. But the women's number 3 seed, Jelena Jankovic, survived an enormous fright, as Chris Jones tells us.
Jelena Jankovic and Tamira Pazchek provided an extraordinary start to the on-court action. Having won the first set, then conceding the second, Pazchek edged closer to an upset, but the number 3 seed kept her nerve. In the gripping third set, Jankovic faced certain defeat, only to watch her Austrian opponent blow it big time. The set lasted almost 2 hours before Jankovic rounded off her amazing revival.
The lower part hurts a bit, but mentally and I'm really happy, so that's the most important thing.
Nervous times too for new mum Lindsay Davenport. With the match locked at 1 set all, the calls weren't going her way.
Are you crazy?
But she fought back from a breakdown in the final set to win the match.
The fairy tale comeback continues for Lindsay Davenport.
Earlier women's defending champion Serena Williams had an easier start to her campaign against a sometimes defiant Jarmila Gajdusova. In reality, there was no stopping Serena, who went on to beat the Australian 6-3, 6-3.
I think everyone could probably tell it was a little scratchy, but, you know, it's the first round and just moving forward.
On the men's side, big serving Andy Rock flew through his match.
Good shot.
I'm getting smoked out here. The American easily progressing in straight sets. Chris Jones, National 9 News.
All right, now to the cricket, and Australia's Brad Hogg faces a hearing in Perth later tonight our time, which effectively could rub him out for up to 4 test matches if he's found guilty of an abuse charge. Now, while that's obviously a big concern for the Australian team, their main focus is on Wednesday's return bout with India. Clinton Fletcher reports.
At today's training, Hogg wasn't getting in a sweat over anything, and he should know his fate in the next 4 hours. Whatever the outcome, the Aussies are anxious to get on with some hard test cricket.
We'll continue to strive to do that. We'll continue to strive to be, you know, the best at everything we do.
Gilchrist was also keen to talk up the value of having 4 quick bowlers in Perth. He believes Sean Tate deserves a chance and should be used in short, explosive bursts.
If he did play, he'd be a really useful weapon.
For the first time in the series, India has newly appointed coach Gary Kirsten on hand. The former South African batsman will officially take over later in the year, but he wants to help now.
Obviously quite sad to see the way things have happened over the last week, and obviously look forward to everyone getting back to cricket.
In a good sign for the locals, Matthew Hayden continues to improve, and what about that record? The Aussies are chasing their 17th straight test win.
Something that we'd all be thrilled to be a part of if the chance is there, if it happens.
Whoever gets going in the test, it'll be hard to match this effort last night.
Oh, that's out of the ground.
In the 2020 final at the Wacker, Victoria beat Western Australia by 32 runs. Aiden Blizzard 6 was a massive help. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
And that's all for tonight. Pete, back to you.
Right, thanks, Tony. And still to come, Livinia Nixon with the weather and feeling the beat for Australia Day.
Bonus power. Mazda 3 SP23. It's a top score.
Good evening. Well, we had plenty of sunshine today, but those fresh southerly winds kept it cool. We went from a low of 15 up to 23 at 3:30, and still not one drop of rain yet for this month. It was dry across the state, and a few places had their coolest day so far this year. The winds will shift around to northerlies as a high moves across, which means it'll head back into the 30s tomorrow. Fortunately, not the extreme heat that hit Western Australia on the weekend. It got to a sweltering 49 degrees at Port Hedland. That's their highest on record. We'll only have one warm day. This front will bring a cool change tomorrow night. Unfortunately, there's no significant rain with it. Another low is bringing more heavy falls to Queensland. Just south of Cairns, they had over 350 millimetres in 24 hours, and that system is going to stay there for the rest of the week. So they're preparing for more floods there, but for us, very little rain. For the capitals tomorrow, rain in Brisbane, an early shower for Sydney, a storm in Darwin. Here it'll be dry and warm, up to 37 in the Mallee. Around Melbourne, 32 in the northern suburbs, 29 on the peninsula. In the city, a low of 15 tonight, then up to 31 tomorrow, so quite a bit warmer than today. It'll be mostly sunny. Winds will be light with sea breezes in the afternoon. A change on Wednesday will make it cooler, 23 with some early drizzle, fine, and 25 on Thursday, 31 on Friday and up to 35 on Saturday and quite humid, 29 on Sunday with a late change bringing a few showers, and 1 or 2 Monday. Warm tomorrow, Pete.
Thanks, Livinia. Well, at this stage, we can only hope for some pleasant weather for Australia Day celebrations on the weekend after next. But whatever Mother Nature brings, Acting Premier Rob Hulls has guaranteed there'll be no shortage of activities to help us celebrate our National Day. He's announced more than 50 events will be spread across the city during the 3-day long weekend, ranging from tall ships on the bay to the Great Australia Day duck race and an African village on the Arts Centre lawn featuring some energetic performers. And that's what's news this Monday. Nice to be back. Thanks for your company. Good night.